Okay, let's get started. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us to learn about the Peace Flag Project today with Runa Ray. My name is Greta Zaro and I'm the organizing director with World Beyond War. If you're new to the organization, World Beyond War is a global grassroots network. We have people who have signed our Declaration of Peace in 190 countries and counting worldwide. Our mission is to abolish the institution of war and to replace it with what we call the alternative global security system based on peace and demilitarization. So today we'll be talking about the Peace Flag Project with Runa Ray. Runa is a chapter member of our new California chapter, and she will share about this project and how you can get involved worldwide. After Runa's presentation, we will take Q&A and discussion. It is a small group today, so we will allow questions either from the chat box, if you'd like to put a question in there, or you can use the Zoom raise hand feature and we will call on you and let you unmute and ask your question that way. You should see the reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen to use your Zoom hand. And also a shout out to my colleague Mark today, who is helping with tech backup. So with that, Runa, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dari, and thank you all for making it. Thank you so much, Greta. I'm seeing Dari here because anyway, so I would like to start off by saying that the Peace Flag Project is in partnership with World Beyond War, and I'm a member of the California chapter. We meet up every first and third Thursday of the month, and where we discuss the mission for peace. And we also have book readings that help us understand the requirement for peace in this world. So the Peace Flag Project was conceived in the city of Half Moon Bay, which is south of San Francisco. It's a coastal town. And we had the peace resolution that was passed in September 2020, which enabled people to be a part of this large community building project that helped advocate for peace. The concept of the Peace Flag is pretty simple. It works with the SDG 16, which is the Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations, which talks about peace, justice, and strong institutions. It aims at connecting 193 countries and to be displayed annually at the United Nations on the International Day of Peace. There are also plans for the flag to travel to universities across the US to be displayed. And this partnership with World Beyond War hopes to wrap the world in the peace flag. So I urge everyone to be an advocate for peace and join the flag. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, of course, I would be glad to answer that. I think I've gone to the, let me get here. Okay, so this is basically what I spoke to you about the peace flag, that we're living in unprecedented times, but the virus has shown us that we are one large family and that we are rowing together for a more resilient future. And that if it's only going to be like few of us rowing towards the future, we're probably going to get there later or probably not even get there, but together we're going to definitely reach it. So the peace flag is about a community project wrapping the world in peace and trying to connect 193 countries. So I'm going to go to the first slide, which explains how we could engage in this project. So you basically need to find the fabric. The fabric could be anything. It could be any fabric which could end up in the landfill. It could be like a cloth napkin. It could be a table runner. It could be an old tablecloth, an old top, an old T-shirt, or anything that you feel has lost its life and you don't know what to do with it. So once you find the fabric, the next step would be to cut a square which is 12 inches by 12 inches. Now, I have some fabric here which I had, but these were like some leftover pieces. So this is like a 12 by 12. So you can, like if you have a T-shirt, you can cut this out. You can use the back and cut it out. Some of the fabrics, you might have the print on top, but then the reverse is good enough, because what you're going to do next is you're going to draw upon it. So you basically need something which is plain, easy to draw upon, and not very textured. The third step is where you draw or write or stitch upon the canvas. Now, we've got a lot of creative inputs that have started coming in, where people have actually taken the square and they have appliqued upon it what peace means to them. Some people have just drawn upon it. Some people have just signed the name. That's perfectly fine. It's your definition of peace, and it's your advocacy of peace that really matters. So once you've done with it, we would like you to sign your name, the date, and the place at the bottom of the canvas. These are some of the examples that came out. So using just a marker pen, some of them have used like acrylic paints. Some of them are just using a ballpoint. Simple to complicated. So we've got all kinds of entries, and these will be you will be able to see this on the website of World Beyond War, because we'll be sharing an entire folder which shows you what entries we've gotten. But I've got a lot of questions where people are like, I'm not an artist. You don't need to be an artist. You are signing your name for peace. So you could just write peace, and you could sign your name. That's more than enough. That's an artwork by itself. So please don't worry if you're not an artist. It really doesn't matter. The step 4 is where you could probably involve communities. Now, what I did was in Half Moon Bay, I got in touch with a lot of schools. So during the pandemic, we had like the students who started becoming a part of the project. So they would come, the teachers would tell them over Zoom what needs to be done, exactly the way I'm explaining it to you. And they would do this at home and come back to school and kind of drop it off to the teacher, and then I would go and collect it. So you could get in touch. And we've also had the California chapter member Dari and Sue, who've also been a part of this project. So they've gotten in touch with their family members and friends and told them about it, and they have collected the canvases together after the rest have drawn upon it. Step 5 is you collect the canvases after you've already approached the schools and individuals and friends and family. Of course, more the better. The other stage 6 is how you need to arrange the canvases. So it would be, if you could arrange the canvases for it to be photographed, you can see this blue box at the bottom, which speaks about the hashtag World Beyond War and peace activism. So it would be nice if you have like a piece of paper that kind of, where you've written like World Beyond War, peace activism, the place, the location where you've got this project happening at, and the date. The next one will show you options as to how you could take photographs of it. You can just use your phone, but you can just stack the canvases on the ground and have the sheet of paper that speaks about World Beyond War and peace activism, the location and date. The other option, if you want to hang it, is like you can use safety pins, of course, to kind of pin like separate canvases together through the ends and then display it. The other complicated piece is that if you have any seams to this, and if you could sew the canvases, that's what I did. So you can also sew the canvases. You have options where you can, like insert a rod on the top and the bottom so that there's enough of weight. And the only limitation is that if you're going to sew it together, make sure that you have like the canvases, 10 canvases by the width and 10 canvases by the length. So it's like a square that kind of forms out into being the flag. This is basically how you photograph it, so that you're not photographing it from the side, but you get the entire angle from the center and make sure that the focus is in the center. Step 7, once you've got the photographs, you've contacted the communities, you already have the canvases, you collect them and you post them to this address, which is again going to be shared with you. It's Peace Activism, 430 Beach Avenue, Half Moon Bay, California, 94019. The next step would be you can email the photographs to activismpeace@gmail.com. If you have photographs of work in progress, that will be great, because then we'll just upload it to our Instagram, to our social media, to our website, and of course tag the community, so people get to know who have been a part of the peace flag process. The last piece is where you can send your scanned postal receipt to activismpeace@gmail.com, include your bank details, and you will be reimbursed for the postal charges. So, so once you collect the canvases, you send the photographs, you mail the entire thing to us, and then you send us scanned postal receipt and with your bank details for the reimbursement. These were some of the flags I just decided to canvases that I decided to show you that were put together, which were gotten from. We had like 7 schools in Half Moon Bay who contributed to this. So we had a total of 900 flags, including members of World Beyond War. This is something which I was putting together, which spoke of the peace resolution of Half Moon Bay, which was connecting humanity, and the display at the United Nations. This is all the flag, the canvases which were sewn together. On the left, you can see my cat who refused to leave the spot. So you can see it is pretty large piece actually. This is one of the displays from a school called the Seacrest School in Half Moon Bay, and we have the plastic over it obviously to protect it from the elements. This was another canvas, so you've seen all the canvases stitched together. This here you can see the guys hoisting the flags so that the entire facade of the City Council of Half Moon Bay was full. So all the windows were completely blocked with the flags. This was a very interesting thing that just came to me recently about these children with special needs who wanted to be a part of the peace flag process. This is in India and from my hometown, Bangalore. So this school I have worked with before, and I've done art projects with them. So they were really interested in being a part of the peace flag. So you've seen them really here. They're really interested in wanting to wrap the world in peace. So we had like this large canvas, which is anyways going to be cut up into like 12 by 12 inches and then sent across to me using block print. So this is their expression of peace. And this photograph really moved me to bits because it showed me the happiness that the children had. And, that's all. I mean, that really motivated me to say that we need to get this project moving further. So basically, this is it. It's connecting 193 countries. I would like to say the deadline is May 30th from now. Obviously, we can extend it because I know there will be a lot of straggling, peace canvases that come in. Try to collect at least a minimum of 100. That will be great per person. So so that we can get to stitch it together. If you want to donate, it's completely up to you. You can by paying for the postal charges, and if you have a seamstress for the sewing. If you have any questions, you can always call me or WhatsApp me at this number, or you can email me at activismpeace@gmail.com. So I think that's it for now. And yeah, so if you have any questions,
Yeah, Runa, I'm wondering before we go to audience questions, if you could just share a little bit more about kind of the experience of working with the city council and, getting that resolution passed, because I think many of us have struggled with that, municipal resolutions. It's not always an easy process to work with city governments or any type of government. So maybe if you could talk us through how you successfully did that and how other cities could do that. And likewise, a little bit more about, the UN. I mean, I think it's amazing that you're working with the UN on this, and you probably know World Beyond War. We typically celebrate the International Peace Day every year, and so I think it's really great that you're kind of integrating this with that monumental day in September.
Yeah. So with the city council, it was pretty simple. I approached them with the project in mind, and it was exactly what I explained. I said I want to get the peace flag done, try to get the communities involved, get the entire city of Half Moon Bay wanting to be a part of the flag. And in fact, they were the people who said that we need to pass a resolution for this. And I said, well, that's good. So what kind of resolution? And luckily at that time, they had on their facade a Black Lives Matter, a mural that was done. And at that time, this was in September, but I'd already been in touch with them earlier. So in September, they had to pass a resolution for the mural, and they said, since it's an art project, we need to do the same thing. So they followed the same guidelines and passed the peace resolution. It was basically going to I spoke to the mayor, and he got me to speak to his subordinate, and from there it just rolled on. Yeah, and I think if you get in touch with your mayor of your cities, and they can always introduce you to the mayors of the other cities, and you can have it like an ongoing project where it keeps rolling on. So that's one thing. And with the United Nations, I have a very dear friend of mine who's here right now. Her name is Teresa Kotaran. She works with the Sisters of Charity Federation, a very, very good friend of mine who is with the United Nations. And since I've been with the UN since 2019, attending a lot of the events, you obviously meet a lot of people. And even in the Peace and Justice Department, you have people who want to kind of promote art of this sort. So the peace flag has been already explained to them. Unfortunately, we couldn't do anything last year, but hopefully we should try to do something this year. But it seems doubtful because I don't think the offices might be open, but then there's always the venue outside where the display can happen at the United Nations. Yeah.
Runa, I want to, I'm sure that people have questions, and that might include questions about how to actually, do these fabrics. But I have another question. I'm really interested in what was your original motivation to get involved in urging world peace, not just in doing this project, but certainly that's not a motivation that everybody has. And I might actually be interested in hearing from your other chapter leader as well. What, now that you're part of World Beyond War, what brings you here?
So I'm a fashion designer by profession. And over time, I turned to be fashion environmentalist because the environment was something which I was really concerned with. And I started using fashion as activism to educate and advocate for policy change. And I realized that there was no use fighting for environmental justice when there wasn't any social justice, and everything was interlinked. So if I as a person had to really do something which was important for the environment, I had to do something for the people in it. And the only way we could probably do something for the people was to ensure that we had a healthy knowing about what peace was. Because right now, war has always been glorified. And even if I look at like the games that are coming out and the children playing it, it's always about killing somebody. It's about being ruthless, about victimizing someone. And that's when you feel the power. And so why can't we have peace that has the same message? So that's when I decided to interlink my two passions, which was, of course, fashion, art, and the justice for the environment and people. Yeah, so that's where I'm here.
Great, thanks so much. So yeah, we have plenty of time for questions. Really, we set up this session so that you can get a chance to speak to Runa and ask any questions or technical assistance that you need. So feel free to put questions in the chat, or again, use the Zoom raise hand feature by clicking on reactions and then click raise hand, and we'll call on you. And I would love to hear from some of the people who are on the call who have done this too, to share their experience of doing it.
Dari.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dari. I'm one of the two co-coordinators for the California chapter of World Beyond War, and I've had the pleasure of working with Runa on her project a little bit. I got some family and friends, and we all made our contributions for the peace flag. And this is something that we participated in Half Moon Bay. So I shipped them to Runa, and they became part of the Half Moon Bay City Hall peace flag there. So that's, one way we've participated. But, I'm hoping that in other places in my surrounding area in California, we can get a similar sort of a display going. So as you say, Runa, if in a community you can put together this peace flag, send you the images of it so you can publicize it and connect us, but it would be displayed in the local area. Is that right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would display it in your local area. You would have the photographs, you would have the people, the signature, you can have work in progress, anything, and send it to us. And once you send it to us, then it starts getting incorporated into the main flag. So the reason why I said it means it would be easier if you have like, if you have a lot of canvases, to have it like 10 canvases by 10 canvases, because then it's easy to kind of sew together to make it one large piece, because eventually that's what's going to happen.
Eventually, yeah. Yeah, it's so great. I mean, it was such a pleasure and an honor to participate. I had several generations of my family contribute, and friends of my school-age daughter. I think it was really good. It was a good start to the conversation for a lot of people. And I think I just another moment. I know, Mark, you had asked about what some of our chapter members what had inspired us to get involved. And I'm a landscape and horticultural consultant and landscaper. And my foray, I guess, is from the also environmental standpoint. I've seen destruction of habitats around me, and as worrisome as all of that is, I felt like for my generation and families around me, I felt like there wasn't enough of a voice for the anti-war stance. I mean, there's interest in environmental causes, but like you said, Runa, I feel like it's so interlinked and cultural. And until we tackle the violence, the acceptability of state-sponsored and family violence at all levels, I feel like we're not going to get very far in protecting other species. So it was just I saw a void from someone from, say, my demographic. Sort of like middle of your working career, raising a family, and I just felt like it's time to step in, do what I can in some small way. Thank you, Runa, for the opportunity to participate.
Well, it's so great to hear these things, because everybody who gets involved in anti-war activism, or what we do at World Beyond War, comes from a different direction. So you both bring, and the California chapter brings in a lot of unique skills. And Runa, I do hope, in all seriousness, that you'll be on Project Runway, because they are. They are they are interested in activist causes. They do have some, So I hope you consider it, and I hope to see you there. Now we have a question from Nina. Is there a way to get these flags made at a later date? The Global Peace Film Festival takes place September 20 to 26, and we always look for ways for attendees to do something active. Interesting. Nina, do you want to just explain what you mean?
Oh, okay. Our mission is to engage people to take action about things that we present. And as you were doing the introduction about how to make the flags, it occurred to me that, and I didn't know that this was like time limited to the end of May, but it occurred to me that we could create like a lot of 12 by 12 pieces of fabric and have material for people to do their own flags as attendees come to a film or come out of a film. So I don't know how we put them together, but that's an easy challenge to overcome. But it would be great, the festival is anchored around the International Day of Peace, obviously. So we don't really come together that much until then. So that's why I wanted to know if this was going to be an ongoing project that we could, take on at that date.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, because there are other peace organizations who are also having a lot of festivities around that time. And like you said, they would be having people participating. So maybe maybe the set that you're giving, Nina, might not be able to be displayed, this time, but we can all, but since it keeps growing, and like I said, it's going to be traveling to universities, so it's going to just keep gaining traction. So I don't see the problem, not at all. Any other questions? Was it that simple? Yeah, so I think you can do the flags at any point, but if you want to, if we're looking at the International Day of Peace under the United Nations, then, like I said, May 30th, but we can always push it. Yeah. But it's always nice to have a deadline so that people kind of work together, and it's easy to get the pieces quicker.
Runa, I'm curious. Are you reaching out to various other parts of the world and getting responses? Like, what types of different responses are you getting from different parts of the world?
I think mostly people are pretty happy to be a part of this project because it's simple, and it's also something which gets you to advocate for peace. So it's been mostly positive, very, very positive. And a lot of schools have been very interested in this project, especially during the pandemic. And like I even showed you the images of the children with special needs. That was pretty amazing. I didn't even expect that to happen. So yeah.
Have you found that any people are sort of finding it a challenge to put peace on canvas? Like, are there any prompts that you've been using to help people kind of with the artistic process?
Yeah, so with the artistic process, I've got like a few submissions where there was a lady who even sent me a photograph which was laminated, and she had that stuck on the canvas using double-sided tape. So what I did for my side was I kind of secured it with, while I was sewing it, so it got to be a part of the canvas. So people are being pretty creative. They're stitching on it, they're appliquing on it, not just drawing, but they're kind of being pretty innovative, and they're even having patches sewn upon it. So I'm leaving it up to them. I'm not kind of telling them it has to be of, has to be this color, or it has to be exactly this kind of material that needs to be used. So I don't, apart from that, the only question I've gotten is, I'm not artistic. So that's where I'm like trying to convince everyone, you don't need to be artistic. It's just about, even your signature is a part of you. That is art by itself. So you can just write peace and sign, and that's more than enough. The one thing which I found interesting was that I kind of struggled with adults committing to peace, and it was much more easier for children to do that. I don't know why, but I thought it was very interesting that the adults did not want to commit to peace or even write peace and sign. And I should have probably asked questions, but I did not. But that was something which was quite an eye-opener.
I think that's a universal question we're always asking in the anti-war movement, is why are adults so resistant sometimes? So I think you've hit on something there.
Yeah, and I think it's good that we have organizations like World Beyond War that help people understand how important it is to have peace. So that's one of the reasons World Beyond War exists, right? Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, Sheila, you can unmute, you can unmute yourself, I think.
My thought is I'm a musician, and I might do a flag piece through music and put a couple of notes on it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I had another question, but I can't remember it.
It will come back to you. Yeah, we did have somebody who had musical notes on one canvas. It was really cool. What I'm going to, like I said, Greta, is that I have photographs of all the canvases. So I'm going to share a folder so you can just put it on the website so people can just take a look at it. They're very, very pretty, beautiful pieces. And I also have an Instagram. We also, the Peace Activism also has an Instagram page. So most of the canvases are there on that too. But for our members, we can just, we can just send it to them, send a link.
What is the Instagram? I will follow you now.
Yeah, peace hyphen activism.
Cool. That's a nice one to get.
Yeah, I was lucky. Yeah, Sheila has a question.
Oh, Sheila, you can now unmute.
I remembered what it was. The United States' most lucrative export is weapons, and I'm wondering if somehow that has worked its way into adults' consciousness that makes it harder for them to work toward peace.
I'm sure that's true. And Teresa, you also just typed something. Which would you like to say that? I think it's, or I will read it. In our polarized world, this initiative is a game. Is a game changer. All of us focused on peace. I mean, I think what I see as the value of this is it brings up all of these questions, right? And these are the questions we're all asking, that you're asking, Sheila. Does anyone know the answer? I don't.
Okay, Bob, you can now unmute.
I'm still stuck, Runa, on the idea of writing on fabric. Since I'm not an artist, it would be sort of a challenge, but I wonder if there's some kind of fabric and some kind of writing tool that would be optimal, where you could make it work pretty easily.
Sorry, Bob, my internet dropped, so I was kicked out. You'll have to repeat your question, or if I missed any question.
So I'm still, we've talked about this in the past, I'm still stuck on the idea of writing on fabric. It doesn't seem even possible to me to make it look good. So obviously a bunch of people have done it, so it must be possible. But here's the question.
Yeah.
If there's some kind of fabric like canvas or something that would be optimal, and some kind of a writing tool, I could come up with a concept easily for this. In fact, just sitting listening to you, I got a couple of what I felt were pretty good ideas. But just, it's hard for me to imagine writing on fabric. And you've told me it was easy before, but I just can't get around that block.
Okay, so you're wearing a shirt, right? But it's a printed shirt.
Yes.
So imagine you have it plain in any color.
Yes.
So if you take and you don't want that shirt anymore, it's an old shirt, you're ready to get rid of it. It's going to end up in the landfill. So you take that shirt and you've got your back, which is quite a large piece of fabric. So you just got to cut out a 12 by 12 like this.
Well, I don't have any trouble with any of that. It's the actual writing.
Oh, that's easy. You can use a Sharpie. You can use, like a marker. You could use, if you want, the people who've used paints and stuff, but just even a simple marker like this is just a marker.
Okay.
Like something like this. This is good. Like, comes out pretty well.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be interesting for you to start experimenting now. A challenge.
Yeah. Dari, do you want to just unmute and say what you?
Sure. Yeah. Hi. So, yeah, I was just been thinking about the schools, and our own community school just sent back the 3rd through 6th graders today. So it's our first day back.
Mm.
And they're in a hybrid learning model, and everybody's in this state of flux, and they're learning how to do this. And they've only got 6 weeks of school left until the end of the year. But I expect that next fall, largely the schools will be open, at least part-time. There will be children on the campus. I feel like this is a great time to start thinking about, getting them participating in the fall. I know it won't be soon enough to participate for the UN Peace Day, but I think going into the next year, a lot of these peace issues, interrelated ones, are on the minds of the kids too now. So, yeah, I'm excited. If Runa, we're considering taking this forward into the future, past the fall. I think there's a lot of potential for participation.
Yeah, so this is not going to be just for now. We're definitely going to see how we keep expanding it. And it's not just for this year, but it's going to be, all of us are looking at it for, like 10 years plus, where it keeps expanding. And we're not going to be able to reach 193 countries in a year, but let's start with the US and see how we can take it from there. Yeah, and the reason we can probably start now is because from my experience with schools, it's about getting in touch with them, then going and meeting the art teacher being able to communicate it to the students, and then finding the time. So it does take time for the entire process to actually, come together. So the sooner we plant the seed, it would be easy, like you said, Dari, for fall. But there's no stress. Like I said, it would be nice if we get something. We already have 900 submissions. I'm going to go to the schools in San Mateo and see how we can get them to be a part of it. So from my side, I will be anyways expanding it. But if you could not be a part of it this time, we can always keep building on it. So it's going to be an ongoing process. So don't worry about that.
Sheila just had asked, when is the International Day of Peace? And the answer is September 21st. I also want to mention I did just follow your Instagram, and it looks great. Everybody can see good examples of these fabrics. I may even do one. It's not my wheelhouse, but
as long as it inspires people to do something, that's perfect.
Sue Blaine says, my grandkids' school has done art projects even when they've been distance learning. True, probably as important as ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only challenge is kind of starting off, and the next challenge would be trying to get people involved in it. And I think you can just start off with friends and family, and then ask them to kind of spread the word. So then you get to be the main person, where they kind of connect and send the pieces to. It's apart from that, I don't see much of a problem. And yeah, and displaying the flag, if you have a city council, or if you have a place where you can go and display it in a prominent location, or you could even ask one of the schools where, if you could probably display it there, if they would be interested, or otherwise even your own house, doesn't matter. I just want to keep it really simple, and so we can just get the art piece growing. Yeah. Any other questions? Paula,
You can now unmute.
Okay. Yeah, is there a link on World Beyond War for doing the project, for how to send it in and get what kind of materials to use and everything?
Yep. Yeah. We've just uploaded, before this webinar, we just uploaded the slides that Runa shared. So afterwards, in the follow-up email, we'll send this recording as well as those slides, and those you can share those with anyone as well. And then we'll also have the folder of examples that Runa mentioned. So we'll compile all this and send it out afterwards.
Yeah. Any other questions? So it is pretty simple, huh?
I'm sorry I got in late. Is there, are there ways that we can maybe publicize this in the local newspaper or, I don't know, with organizations? Is there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've already got 2 press releases, which has also mentioned World Beyond War being a part of the peace flag. And you can do that because then you get to be the person who's going to be heralding the project from your side. So like I said, you get in touch with communities, you get in touch with the press, you can get in touch with your, the city council, the municipalities. Each one gets to be a leader in collecting the canvases and spearheading the flag from their location.
Do you have any tips, Runa, for how you got in touch with the press? As you said, you had at least 2 articles, I believe, about the project so far.
Yeah, so because this was done at the facade of the city council and on Main Street. So the press, you have like 2 press offices which are just adjacent to it. So they saw it and they got really interested and they came by wanting to know what this community mural was all about. And got in touch with the city council, and the city council explained to them and got details from me. And I gave a few members who had participated in the peace flag the press is give the number, and then the press got in touch with them. They had a few things to say about it, and this was basically trying to get a lot more people involved in the peace flag project. So you can just walk into any press, any local press of the city and speak to them and tell them that you have this project which is happening in association with World Beyond War, and I'm sure they would love to write a story about it.
Yep. Paula, did you have another question?
Yeah, I remember last time we had talked about possibly doing a calendar or a little book. And I was thinking if I'm sure it would be hard to select the pictures for a calendar, but if each month had like some of the pictures with a theme, like how do I achieve personal peace, or how how do we cut down the funding for for military, or how do we cut down gun violence? In other words, I don't know if that's something that is you could take on, but I think a calendar would be, and then with each month you could have a link to where people could contribute their own egg.
That's a good point, Paula, because there's another thing which I think is really important, which completely I slipped my mind, was when people are giving their canvases in, we need to let them know that it gets to be a part of the peace flag, so they can't get it back. They kind of giving it as a part to join the flag because the flag is going to be traveling. Because I've had, not too many, but I've had like 1 or 2 people asking me if they're going to get back the canvas, but it's impossible because it's already integrated into this large, flag. So that's something we need to tell them. And talking about the calendars that we discussed, we need to that is something I think we can probably discuss on a later date. But then if it's going to be something which is, which we're going to be putting out for the goodwill, that's fine. But it obviously cannot be done for commercial purposes, because then it gets into an artwork being sold, which is, not technically ours. So I don't know. That is something we need to probably think about.
Speaking of calendars, I can't help but not mention our Peace Almanac, which is a 365-day peace calendar that World Beyond War developed. Not necessarily related to the peace flag, but it is something that we have out there, which you can find online. You can also get a paper copy of it, and it has an entry for each day that kind of tries to tell a new narrative instead of celebrating militaristic holidays, but celebrating important moments in the peace movement. I'm not sure if that can be incorporated into the peace flag, but just had to mention it in the calendar discussion.
Yeah, I think if people are willing to get the artworks into the calendar, that would be great. But we need to kind of lay down the rules, basically, you know, so that there's no problem in the future. That's all.
So there's no way you can sell a calendar just to cover costs?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't gone that far, to tell you the truth. Right now, I'm just kind of, the aim is to get the flag to grow and to get a lot more people commit to it, and start off with the United Nations, and then India is already into it. So I haven't, to tell you the truth, I haven't gone that far.
Yeah, because the issue, as Runa said, is that we don't have permission from all of the hundreds of people who are submitting their artwork. So we would have to add some kind of permission process.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other questions? I think we're good, right? No more doubts.
Is it, I sorry for being so, taking up so much time, but Mark said it was on Instagram. Is it posted on like Facebook or a Twitter? The pictures?
Yeah, so I'll send Greta the links to all this of the Instagram, the Facebook, and the Twitter, and Greta's going to be compiling the video and the material, and you'll get it all, so you can see the examples.
Great.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Runa, for starting this entire project. And we hope that everyone today will participate in it and, share this information with your networks as well.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.